Have you ever watched a whole compound decide what a man is worth by looking at his shoes? What would you do if the man your mother called a useless Okada rider was the same man whose company paid the salary of half the people sitting in that compound? And when the truth finally walked through the gate in a line of black jeeps, who do you think could not stand up from her chair? Stay with me through this one, because it is a story about a mother who counted money, a father who counted character, and a daughter caught between the two of them on the most important morning of her life. Dear lovely viewers, if stories like this move you, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss one. Now, let us begin. Benin City wakes up early, and Upper Sakpon Ba Road wakes up earlier than the rest of it. By 6 in the morning, the road was already alive. Traders were dragging their tables out. Okada riders were warming their engines at the junction. The smell of akara frying in hot oil moved down the street like a person greeting everybody. A woman was sweeping the front of her shop and arguing with somebody on the phone at the same time. Feo Sagie stood at the window of her father's house and watched all of it and could not eat. She was 26 years old. She taught primary 4 at a small school in Ugbowo, 42 children in one classroom. She loved those children more than she loved most adults. She had a soft voice. When she was worried, she folded her hands in front of her stomach and squeezed her own fingers. This morning, her fingers were sore because she had been squeezing them since 5 o'clock. Today was her introduction. Today, her fiancé and his people were coming to ask her father for her hand, the way it has always been done. Cola nut, palm wine, elders sitting in a line, the bride's family reading out their list, the whole street watching from the fence. She should have been happy. Instead, her stomach was turning like a bad road. "Hey, Fair!" The voice came from the parlor, and it did not need to be loud to reach her. Her mother's voice never needed to be loud. "Ma," Afe answered. Madame Iyobosa came into the room already dressed, at 6 in the morning, in a wrapper and blouse of deep purple lace, with the jele not yet tied but carried over her arm like a trophy. She was a big woman with a beautiful face and eyes that measured everything they landed on. She had been measuring things her whole life. She measured people the way a trader measures rice, by weight, by what it would fetch. "Why are you standing at a window like a person waiting for bad news?" her mother said. "Do you know how many girls on this street would kill for what is coming to you today? I am fine, Mama." "You are not fine. You are shaking." Her mother came closer and straightened the collar of Afe's blouse with 2 hard tugs. "Listen to me. Today is not a small day. Today is the day this street finally closes its mouth. Nobody is talking about us, Mama. Everybody is talking about us." Madame Iyobosa turned to the mirror and touched her own cheek. "For 20 years I have carried this family on my back. Your father sold shoes in a stall the size of a toilet. 20 years I have heard people say, that is Iyobosa, the one whose husband repairs sandals. Today they will say, that is Iyobosa, the mother-in-law of a big man." Efe looked at the floor. "He is not a big man, Mama. He is a good man," her mother laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "My daughter, in this life, a good man with no money is a burden with a nice smile." Downstairs, the compound was already filling up. Madame Iyobosa had rented 120 plastic chairs. She had borrowed a generator from the church because she said a big man must not come and meet darkness. She had ordered a sewn AB in gold and wine color. She had made sure that every woman in her association bought it, so that when the photographs came out, the pictures would show a wall of gold and wine, and everybody would know who had thrown the party. She had cooked as if for a governor. 2 big pots of jollof rice, banga soup, owo soup with fresh fish, because this is Benin and no serious ceremony passes without owo. Pounded yam wrapped and warm. Crates of malt stacked by the wall. Palm wine in 3 plastic kegs, tapped that morning from A. Kia Dolor. And on the small table in the parlor, in a brown envelope, sat the list. The bride price list. Afe had seen it 2 nights before and had not slept after seeing it. Her mother had written it herself. Not the elders. Not the family. Her mother, with a biro and a school exercise book, sitting at the dining table with her calculator and her tongue between her teeth. 12 tubers of yam had become 40 tubers of yam. 2 goats had become 4 goats, and one of them had to be white. There was a line for a full set of gold jewelry for the mother of the bride. There was a line for a wrapper of the most expensive lace for the mother of the bride. There was a line for what she had written as transport and appreciation for the woman who carried the bride, and beside it she had written 1,500,000 naira. There was another line under it, family development levy, 2 million naira. Efe had asked her, "Mama, what is family development levy?" Her mother had not even looked up. It is the line where he shows us he is serious. Efe had gone to her room and cried into her pillow so nobody would hear. It was her father who found her that night. Pa Osage was 61, a thin man with hands that were rough from 40 years of leather and glue. He had mended shoes on Sakpanba Road since he was 20. He walked slowly and he spoke slowly. People who did not know him thought he was a small man until they needed advice. Then they came to him at night when nobody could see them coming. He sat on the edge of her bed that night and did not ask her why she was crying, because he already knew. "Your mother is not a wicked woman," he said at last. "She is a frightened woman. There is a difference, but from a distance the two look the same. Papa, that list is a shame. If he sees that list, he will think we are selling me." Her father was quiet for a while. "Fe," he said. "Do you love this man?" "Yes, Papa." "Why?" She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "Because when my school owed us 3 months' salary and I could not pay my transport, he did not ask me any question. He just started coming to carry me every morning. Because he knows the names of all 42 of my pupils. Because when we go out and the waiter makes a mistake, he does not shout. Because when I talk, he puts his phone down." Her father nodded slowly, as if he was writing it somewhere inside himself. "Then that is your answer," he said. "A list is paper. A man who puts down his phone when you talk is not paper." Now it was morning, and the compound outside was filling, and the drummers had arrived, and Efe stood at the window and prayed one small prayer. Let today just pass. Let it pass without shame. She did not know that shame was already on its way, riding a borrowed motorcycle, wearing a jacket with a hole in the left elbow. By 9:30, the compound could not take one more person. Madame Iyobosa had invited everybody. Her prayer group, her market association. 2 women from the estate whom she did not even like, invited only so that they would see. A photographer she had paid extra, and a young man with a phone on a stick who was going to put the whole thing online. She moved through them like a queen going round her farm. "Sister Iyobosa, congratulations, oh!" "Thank you, my dear, thank you." "So it is true? The man is a big man?" Madame Iyobosa put her hand on her chest and lowered her voice the way people do when they want to be overheard. "My sister, I do not like to talk. But let me just say this. The man has a company, transport and logistics. My in-law from Wari told me he has trucks. Plenty of trucks? Ihan? He does not even like noise. That is the type he is. Quiet money. You know, quiet money is the real one." She adjusted her gilet. "You will see him today. Just watch the gate. When you see the convoy, you will know." Somebody laughed. "Convoy? Iyobosa, you are enjoying, oh? Am I lying? Is my daughter not fine? Look at her." She raised her voice. "Efe, come and greet your aunties." Efe came out in her wrapper and blouse, gold and wine like everybody else, and her beaded coral around her neck and on her wrists, the way an Edo bride must. The women shouted and clapped, and one of them started a song. And for about 2 minutes, Efe forgot to be afraid. Then she looked at the gate. The gate stayed empty. Pa Osagie sat under the canopy with the elders, in his white jumper and his cap, holding his walking stick between his knees. He was not looking at the gate. He was looking at his wife, and there was something tired in his face. His younger brother, Uncle Osaro, leaned towards him. Uncle Osaro was 50, worked at a bank in Sapele Road, wore glasses, and liked to be the man who knew things. "Brother," he said, "this list your wife wrote. Have the elders seen it?" "They have seen it." "And?" P.A. Osagie turned his cup slowly in his hand. "Osaro," he said, "when a man puts a price on his daughter, he should not be surprised when the buyer treats her like goods. I said this in my own parlor on Tuesday night. Nobody heard me. I am only the man who repairs shoes." Uncle Osaro said nothing. At 10 minutes past 10, a sound came from the road. It was not the sound of convoy. It was the small, tired, coughing sound of an old motorcycle climbing the last part of Sakpanba Road with something wrong in its engine. Nobody in the compound turned. Okada passes every minute in Benin. It is the sound of the city breathing. But this one did not pass. This one slowed down at the gate, turned in, and rolled into the compound. The drummers stopped, not because anybody told them to. They stopped the way people stop when something does not fit. The motorcycle was old. The tank had been painted 3 different times, and all 3 colors were showing. On the carrier behind the seat, somebody had tied a raffia sack with rope. The man riding it wore a helmet with a crack running across the visor like a scar. His jacket was dark, green, thick, the kind Okada riders wear against the wind, and it had a hole in the left elbow sewn over with black thread by somebody who was not a tailor. His trousers were dusty from the knee down. His shoes were rubber sandals. He put down the stand. The engine coughed twice and died. For about 4 seconds, the whole compound was silent. Then a woman near the food table hissed and said, loudly, "Ah, who sent for Okada? Is somebody going somewhere?" Somebody else laughed. The man pulled off the helmet. Ife's hand went to her mouth. It was Osa's. Osa Ruyi Aijbe, 35 years old. The man who was supposed to come today with his people and ask for her. He was standing in her mother's compound in an Okada rider's jacket with sweat running down the side of his face and dust on his neck, holding a cracked helmet in both hands. He looked at her across all those plastic chairs and he smiled. Just a small smile, the same one he always gave her, the one that started on the left side of his mouth. "Good morning, everybody," he said. Nobody answered. Madame Iyobosa was standing beside the food table with a serving spoon in her hand. She did not put it down. She stared at him, and Ife watched her mother's face change the way the sky changes before rain in April. "Who are you?" her mother said. "Ma, it is me, Osas. I did not ask your name. I asked who you are." Her voice was climbing. "Where are your people? Where is the car? Where are the elders that are supposed to come and knock on my door?" "They are coming, Ma," Osas said quietly. "Some of them are coming." "Coming? With what? Bicycle?" Laughter broke out on the left side of the compound and then died, because Madame Iyobosa was not laughing. Ife started to move towards him and her mother's hand caught her wrist. "Stand where you are," her mother said. "Mama, please." "Stand there." Osas walked forward through the plastic chairs. People pulled their legs in as he passed, the way you do when somebody dirty is passing, even though he was not dirty, only sweaty and dusty from the road. He got to the front, where the elders were sitting under the canopy. He went down on both knees on the bare ground in front of Pa Osagie, and he touched the ground with his hand. "Papa," he said. "Good morning, sir." The old man looked down at him for a long moment. Then Pa Osagie put his hand on the young man's head. "Rise, my son," he said. "The ground is not for a guest." The word son moved through the compound like current through wire. Madame Iyobosa dropped the serving spoon into the pot. "Excuse me," she said. "Excuse me. Nobody should be greeting anybody yet." She came across the compound, her wrapper swinging. She stopped in front of Osas and looked him up and down slowly, from the sandals to the sewn elbow to the helmet under his arm. "Young man, you are the one that wants to marry my daughter." "Yes, Ma." "You came here on Okada." "Yes, Ma." "Somebody dropped you?" "No, Ma. I wrote it myself." "You wrote it yourself," she said each word slowly, as if she was tasting something spoiled. "And this thing you are wearing, is this what you wore to travel? Where is your cloth? Where is the agbada? A man does not come to ask for a woman in a mechanic's jacket." Osas looked at her calmly. "Ma, I am sorry about how I look. I came from work." "Work?" Her eyes narrowed. "What work?" "Transport, Ma, transport." She turned to the crowd with her palms open, playing to them the way she always did. He said transport. "Did I not tell all of you? Transport and logistics. Trucks." She turned back to him. "So where are the trucks?" There was a pause. "There are no trucks again, Ma." The compound went quiet. "What did you say?" Osas did not look away from her. "The business collapsed, Ma," he said. 2 months ago. Diesel, the road, some money that people owed me and did not pay. I lost everything I had put inside it. Since last month, I have been riding Okada from the junction at Ugbo-wo to feed myself. That is the truth, and I did not want to come here and tell you a lie on the day I am asking for your daughter." Afe heard the words and something inside her chest dropped and then, strangely, steadied. She did not think about trucks. She thought about his hands. She thought about him sleeping in a room somewhere alone, carrying that news for 2 months and still coming today. She pulled her wrist free from her mother and walked to him and stood beside him and took his arm with both hands in front of everybody. "Osas," she said, "why did you not tell me?" "Because I was ashamed," he said, "and because I did not want you to marry me out of pity. Have I ever pitied you one day in my life?" "No," he said. "That is why I am still standing." There were about 130 people in that compound, and not one of them made a sound. Then Madame Iyobosa began to laugh. It came out of her in pieces, high and hard, and it was worse than shouting. "Okada," she said. "Okada, my God in heaven. I told this whole street that a big man was coming to my house today. I bought a sew. I rented 120 chairs. I killed 4 fowls, and what walked through my gate?" She spread her hands. "An Okada man with a hole in his sleeve. Iyobosa." P.A. Osagie's voice came from the canopy, low and level. "That is enough. Do not talk to me," she snapped, and she did not even turn around. "You sit there and keep quiet as usual. This is why we are here in the first place, because I married a quiet man. To understand what walked into that compound, you have to go back one day to a house on the other side of Benin City, in a quiet street off the government reservation area, where the fence was high and the grass was cut, and there were 4 vehicles parked in a line inside the gate. The night before the introduction, Osaruyi Aigbe was sitting on the floor of his own bedroom, with his back against the bed, looking at a suit hanging on the wardrobe door. It was a white agbada, hand-embroidered, sewn by a tailor in Lagos who had taken his measurements 3 times. Beside it on the chair was a red coral bead necklace and coral on a wristband, proper Benin coral, the kind that costs more than a car. His driver Monday stood in the doorway with the car keys in his hand and a face full of confusion. Monday was 42, a short, solid man from Ekpoma who had driven for Osas for 8 years and had started as a gateman before that. He was the only person in the company who could talk to the chairman anyhow. "Chairman," Monday said, "say that thing again. You heard me. I heard you, but my brain refused it." Osas smiled at the floor. "I said I am not going in the Mercedes tomorrow. I want you to get me an Okada, an old one, and a jacket, the type the boys wear at the junction, and a helmet." Monday came fully into the room and closed the door, which he had never done before. "Sir, tomorrow is your introduction, your own introduction. The elders from your father's side are coming from Iowa. The Lagos office people have been calling me since Wednesday asking what time to move." "They will still come," Osas said. "Just not with me. They will come by 12. Monday sat down heavily on the edge of the chair, which he had also never done before. "Chairman," he said. "Why?" Osas was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Do you remember my mother?" "Madam?" "Of course. God rest her. When my father died, I was 11 years old. He left nothing, because everything he had, his brothers came and carried in 1 week. My mother sold okra in Oba Market for 19 years to train me. 19 years, Monday, rain and sun. I know, sir. When I was 26, I wanted to marry a girl. Her name is not important now. Her family lived in Sapele. I went there with my mother, and my mother wore the best thing she had, which was a wrapper she had washed so many times you could see through it a little at the edge. Monday said nothing. The girl's mother looked at my mother's wrapper, Osas said, and she asked her, in front of everybody, whether she came to beg or to marry. Then she told her to go and sit with the people serving the food, since that is where she looked like she belonged. Monday's jaw moved. My mother sat there, Osas said. She sat there and she served people and she smiled because she did not want to spoil my chance. And on the bus going home, she held my hand and said, "My son, do not be angry. Poor people must swallow." And 2 years later she died, and I was still not rich enough to have taken her to a hospital that had oxygen that night. The room was very quiet. "I have money now," Osas said, "more than I know what to do with. And money has one bad habit. Monday. It makes everybody love you. Everybody. You cannot tell who is smiling at you and who is smiling at your account. If I walk into that compound tomorrow in white Okada with 4 jeeps behind me, that mother will kneel down and call me her son. And I will never in this life know whether she would have called me anything at all if my pocket was empty. Monday looked at his hands. So you want to know, he said. I want to know before, not after, Osa said, because after is too late. After is when a man is already married and finds out that the family he joined only ever wanted his money and that they will come back for it every month for the rest of his life. I would rather find out tomorrow, sitting on a bench, sweating, with everybody laughing at me. Monday stood up slowly. And Auntie Afe? He said. You are testing her too? Osa shook his head. No, he said. I stopped testing Afe 2 years ago, on a Wednesday, when my car had a problem on Airport Road and I did not tell her. And she found me under the bonnet and took my handkerchief and cleaned my hands and then went and bought us bread and akara and we ate it on the bonnet. He smiled. That woman is not the one on trial tomorrow, but she has a mother. And I need to see her mother's true face one time, while I can still walk away. Monday went to the door. Then he turned. Chairman, he said. What if it goes bad? What if she disgraces you in front of the whole street? Osas looked at the white Ogbada hanging on the wardrobe. Then at least it will be the truth, he said. Get me the Okada, Monday, and bring the convoy at 12 o'clock exactly. Not 1 minute before. Back in the compound on Sakpon Ba Road, the elders were trying to save the morning. There is a way these things are done, and old men do not like to see the way abandoned, even when the ground under it is shaking. The eldest of them, a man of about 80 with milk in one eye, raised his hand and the noise came down. Osa Gie, he said, is this the young man who wrote to us? He is the one, P.A. Then let him do what a man comes here to do. We will not stand in the road and quarrel while the Kolanut is waiting. Madame Iyobosa opened her mouth. The old man did not look at her, but he said, Woman, sit down. The Kolanut does not know money. She sat. Not because she agreed. Because 80 years old is 80 years old, and even she could not stand against it in front of 130 people. So it began, and it began correctly. Osas knelt again in front of the elders. He had brought what a man is supposed to bring. He had strapped it to the carrier of that Okada in a raffia sack, and when he opened the sack, people leaned forward to see, and what came out was not shameful at all. Kolanut, wrapped in fresh green leaves, alligator pepper, a bottle of hot drink, a keg of fresh palm wine that he had bought that morning from a tapper in Iguobazuwa, 2 big tubers of yam. It was not 40 tubers. It was not 4 goats and one of them white. But it was correct. It was what a man brings when he comes to knock on a door, and every old man under that canopy knew it. The eldest broke the Kolanut and prayed over it. He prayed for long life, for children, for the 2 families. And while he prayed, Madame Iyobosa sat with her arms folded and her face like a closed door. Then came the part where the bride is called. Bring the daughter. Fe came forward. They gave her a cup of palm wine and told her to go and find her husband in the crowd, the way it is done. And there was supposed to be laughter here. There is always laughter here. Young men calling her, waving, shouting, come to me, come to me. Nobody called her. The compound was so quiet you could hear a plate touch another plate at the food table. Fe walked out with the cup in both hands, past the plastic chairs, past all those faces in gold and wine lace, past her mother's association women who had been singing an hour ago and were now looking at their own laps. She walked straight to a man in a torn green jacket sitting on the bare edge of the canopy shade, knelt in front of him, and held up the cup. Osas took it. He drank half. He gave her the rest, and she drank it. And then one person clapped. It was Pa Osagi. The old man stood up with his walking stick and clapped his 2 hands together, slowly, once, twice, 3 times, alone in the middle of all that silence, until the elders joined him. And then some of the young people at the back joined. And finally, the compound gave a small, uncertain applause that sounded like rain that did not know whether to fall. Madame Iyobosa did not clap. She stood up. Since everybody has drunk, she said, let us read the list. Afe's stomach turned over. Mama, sit down, my daughter. Her mother took the brown envelope from the small table and handed it to Uncle Osaro. Osaro read it, loud. Let the young man hear what it costs to marry into a decent family. Uncle Osaro adjusted his glasses. He looked at Pa Osage. Pa Osage looked at the ground. He read it. 40 tubers of yam, 4 goats, one of them white, 2 crates of stockfish, 6 kegs of palm wine, 24 bottles of hot drink, a full set of gold jewelry for the mother of the bride, 2 wrappers of the highest quality lace for the mother of the bride, a wristwatch and a walking stick for the father of the bride. Then he stopped. He cleared his throat. Read it, Madame Iyobosa said. Transport and appreciation for the woman who carried the bride. Uncle Osaro read. 1,500,000 naira. A sound went round the compound. Family development levy, he read. 2 million naira, somebody at the back said. Chai. Madame Iyobosa turned to Osas. Now, she said, you have heard it, Okada man. How many years will it take you to carry that on a motorcycle? 20? 30? You will be an old man before you finish paying for my daughter. Osas stood up. He did not shout. He did not argue. He looked at the envelope and then at her, and he said, Ma, may I keep the paper? She blinked. What? The list? May I keep it? I would like to keep it. For what? So that I do not forget anything on it, he said. Something about the way he said it made 2 of the elders look at each other, but Madame Iyobosa only laughed and threw the paper at him, and it fell on the ground, and Osas bent down and picked it up from the dust and folded it carefully and put it inside his jacket pocket. That was the first mistake she made that day, though nobody in that compound knew it yet. The second mistake came at 11 o'clock, when the food went round. The girls hired to serve carried the trays out. The smell of jollof rice and owo soup filled the compound, and everybody was served. The elders first, then the men, then the women, then the young people at the back, then the drummers, then even the boy with the phone on the stick. Fe waited for a plate to reach Osas. It did not come. She waited. She watched a girl with a tray pass right in front of him and go to the next row. Fe stood up. Mama. Her mother was talking to 2 women and did not turn. Mama, Fe went and stood in front of her. They have not served him. Who? You know who. Madame Iyobosa dusted something invisible off her wrapper. My daughter, she said. I cooked this food for my guests. I invited a big man to this house. A big man did not come. So who exactly am I feeding? Mama, he is my husband. He is not your husband yet, and by God he will not be. Her mother's voice cut across the compound and half of it heard her. Do you know what you are doing? Do you? You want to leave this house and go and sit on the back of Okada for the rest of your life. You want me to be greeting people at church, and when they ask me, Iyobosa, what does your son-in-law do? I will say, my sister, he carries passengers at Ugbowo Junction, 500 naira per trip. There is no shame in that, Afe said, and her voice was shaking, but it did not stop. Papa mended shoes. Papa mended shoes for 40 years, and it is those shoes that paid for the lace you are wearing right now. The compound made a noise like a room where a plate has fallen. Madame Iyobosa's hand rose. It did not land. Pa Osagie was suddenly there, and he did not shout either. He simply stood between his wife and his daughter with his walking stick in his hand and said, Iyobosa. Not today. Not in front of the elders. Not in my father's compound. She lowered her hand. She turned to Osas, who had risen to his feet, and she pointed at the plastic bench outside the canopy, in the open sun by the gate, where the drummers had dropped their bags. You, she said, you will not sit under my canopy among people who have achieved something. Go and sit there. If your people are coming, sit there and wait for them. Fess said, Osas, no, it is all right, Osas said quietly. He walked out from under the canopy and sat down on the bench in the sun with the cracked helmet beside him and the raffia sack at his feet. And he waited. The sun in Benin at 11 in the morning is not a joke. Within 10 minutes, his shirt was wet through the back of the jacket. Flies came from the food. Nobody brought him water. Fe carried a chair and went and sat beside him. Her mother saw and said nothing, because there was nothing left to say that would not break something in public. They sat there, the 2 of them, in the sun, while behind them 130 people ate jollof rice. "You should go and eat," Osas said. "I am not hungry." Feh, I said, "I am not hungry." She was looking straight ahead, and her jaw was tight, and tears were sitting in her eyes without falling. "Do you know what hurts me most? It is not what she is doing to you. You are a man. You will survive it. It is that I have known her for 26 years, and only today am I meeting her." Osas said, "Do not say that. It is true. My mother has a price list for human beings, and I never knew." A tear went down her face, and she wiped it fast. "If you had come here today in Ogbada with jeeps, she would have carried you on her head round this compound. Same man, same heart, same everything, only the jacket is different." Osas looked at her for a long moment. "Feh," he said, "if I had nothing, truly nothing, would you still follow me?" She turned and looked at him as if he had asked whether water was wet. "Osas," she said, "I have already followed you. You are just now noticing." He had to look away, because his eyes had gone hot, and a man does not cry on a bench in front of 130 people. Now, while all this was happening, 2 people in that compound had seen something. The first was Uncle Osaro. He had been staring at Osas for the better part of an hour with his forehead creased, the way a man stares at a face he has seen somewhere and cannot place. Around 11:15, he suddenly sat up straight, took off his glasses, cleaned them on his sleeve, put them back on, and stared again. Then he stood up and went quickly to his wife and whispered, "That man's face." "Which man?" "The Okada man. I know that face." "You know every face?" "No. Listen." Uncle Osaro's voice was going high. "Do you remember that magazine they gave us at the bank? The Enterprise Delta Annual? The one they put on the table in the manager's office. There was a man on the inside page. Oil servicing. They said he built 3 tank farms and he does not do interviews. His face. That is his face." His wife hissed, "Osaro, sit down. The man came here on Okada. But I am telling you, do you want your brother's wife to hear you and slap somebody today? You said the man in the magazine does not do interviews. So how did you see his face? Sit down." And a woman from the association who had been listening leaned in and said, "Osaro, please. This one is bad enough already. Do not add rumor to disgrace." So Uncle Osaro sat down. But he did not stop looking. The second person who saw something was Pa Osagie. He had gone out into the sun with a bottle of cold water and a plate, 1 plate, jollof rice, and 2 pieces of meat. And he had carried it himself. An old man of 61 walking across his own compound with a plate in his hand in front of his wife's whole association. And he had put it into Osa's hands and said, "My son, in this house, nobody eats while a guest is hungry. If they have forgotten, I have not." And as Osas took the plate, his sleeve pulled back, just a little, maybe 2 inches. Under the torn green jacket, on his left wrist, there was a watch. Pa Osage had mended shoes on Sakpon Ba Road for 40 years. A man who does that learns leather and stitching so deeply that he can tell you where a shoe was made just by turning it over. His eyes knew the difference between real and pretending. It was gold, but not shouting gold. The face was dark. On the side there was a small window where a piece of the machine turned by itself, slowly, and no plating had lifted anywhere. He had held a watch like that exactly once in his life, when a chief from Wari came to his stall complaining about a broken sandal strap. He said nothing. He straightened up, and he looked at Osa's face. Osa's met his eyes and did not look away, and something passed between the 2 men that had no words in it. Then Pa Osage said, quietly, "Eat, my son. The sun is strong." And he went back to his chair, and sat down, and folded his hands on his walking stick, and waited. At 20 minutes to 12, Madame Iyobosa stood up in the middle of her own compound and called the elders. "Papas," she said, "I want to say something, and I want everybody to hear it, so that tomorrow nobody will say Iyobosa did something in secret." The compound went still again. "This union," she said, "is cancelled." Fe stood up so fast her chair fell over. "Sit down. Fe, I am talking." Her mother did not even look at her. "Papas, you saw what came through that gate. There is no bride price. There is no family. There is no car. There is a man who says his business has died and who is riding Okada to eat. I am a mother. I carried this girl for 9 months. I am not going to hand her over to hunger and call it love. Some of the women murmured agreement. Some looked at their hands. So, she said, as the mother of this house, I am saying it in front of all of you. Take your kola nut, young man. Take your palm wine and your 2 yams and put them back on your motorcycle. There is nothing here for you. P.A. Osagie stood up. He stood up slowly, the way old men stand, one hand on the stick, one hand on the arm of the chair. And when he was standing, he did not raise his voice at all, so that the entire compound had to go silent to hear him, and it did. Iyo Bosa, he said, you said as the mother of this house. Let me correct you gently, before witnesses. This is not your house. This is the house of my father, Osagie, and his father before him. In this compound, the woman does not give the daughter. The father gives the daughter. And I have not spoken yet. Madame Iyo Bosa's mouth opened. You have spoken all morning, he said. Now sit down and let me speak, because I have kept quiet in this marriage for 29 years, and today I am tired. She sat down. Everybody saw it. She sat down. Pa Osagie turned to the crowd. Some of you know me, he said. Most of you have brought your shoes to me. I have mended sandals for people in this compound who are sitting here eating my daughter's rice and laughing at that young man in the sun. He let that stay in the air for a moment. When I came to ask for the hand of the woman sitting there, I had 1 pair of trousers. 1. I washed it at night and wore it in the morning. Her father asked me what I was bringing, and I told him the truth. I said, Papa, I am bringing my 2 hands. He lifted his hands. They were dark and cracked and the nails were short. He gave me his daughter anyway, he said. He gave me his daughter because he was a man who could see, and what he saw was not my trousers. And from those 2 hands came this house, and 3 children, and a shop, and every plate of rice you are holding this afternoon. Nobody was chewing. Now a young man has come, P.A. Osagie said. He came correctly. He brought kola nut, he brought palm wine, he brought yam, he knelt on the ground. And when it would have been easy for him to stand there and lie to us and tell us big stories about trucks, he told us his business has died. Do you know how much strength that takes? He looked round. A liar is comfortable. Only a man with something inside him tells you the truth on the day it will cost him. He turned to Osas, sitting on the bench in the sun. My son, come here. Osas got up and came and knelt again. Do not kneel. Stand. The old man put his hand on Osas' shoulder. In front of these elders and these witnesses, I, Osagie, the father of Afe, I have taken your kola nut. I have drunk your palm wine. I am giving you my daughter. Not because of what is in your pocket, because of what stood up inside you when this compound was laughing at you. And Afe began to cry, not quietly. As for the list, P.A. Osagie said, there is no list. Osagie, his wife cried. There is no list, he repeated. There is a small bride price, which the elders will fix, in the traditional way, and it will be the same amount my own father-in-law asked me, adjusted for these times, and it will not be a levy, and nobody will develop anything with my daughter's head. The eldest under the canopy struck his stick on the ground, once, in agreement. Madame Iyo Bosa got up and started towards the house. Then you people should carry your poverty and go, she said. But hear me well. If this girl follows that man out of this gate today, she should not come back to this house. Not when she is hungry. Not when she is pregnant. Not when she is sick. Never. Mama! Never, her mother said. And Afe wiped her face with her palm and stood up straight and said, Then I will not come back. She had barely finished saying it. That was the exact moment when, out on Upper Sakponba Road, engines began to arrive. Not one engine. Many. The first thing anybody noticed was that the noise of the street changed. Then the young man with the phone on the stick, who had climbed the fence to get a better shot, said, What is this? Through the gate came a black Toyota Land Cruiser, moving slowly. Behind it, another one. Behind that, a long black Mercedes with tinted glass. Behind that, a coaster bus. Behind that, 2 more jeeps, and behind those, a police escort vehicle, and behind that, another Land Cruiser. 7 vehicles, on Sakpon Ba Road, filling the street from the junction to the church. The gateman had already run. Nobody had opened anything. The vehicles simply stopped in the road and doors began to open on both sides. Men in white Okada came out. Old men, real elders, with walking sticks and beads, coming down from the coaster bus one after another, 22 of them, all in the same gold and wine Aso AB that Madame Iyobosa had chosen for her own family, because somebody had called and asked her tailor for the colors 3 weeks before. Then younger people. Men in suits with folders under their arms. A woman in a gold jele holding a large flat box. 4 young men in company shirts carrying a goat, alive, kicking, then another goat, then 2 more, and one of them was white. Then a truck reversed into the mouth of the street, and its back was full of yam. The compound of Madame Iyobosa was standing up. All of it. 130 people rising out of plastic chairs at the same time. A man in a dark suit came through the gate first, moving fast, looking left and right, and it was Monday. He scanned the compound. He saw the canopy. He saw the elders. He saw the food tables. Then he saw the bench in the sun and the man sitting on it in a torn green jacket with a plate of rice on his knees. Monday's face did nothing at all for 1 second. Then he pulled off his cap, tucked it under his arm, walked across that compound past every single person in it, stopped in front of the bench, and bent from the waist. "Chairman," he said. "Good afternoon, sir. I am sorry we are late. There was traffic at Ring Road." The word chairman went through the compound like water poured on hot oil. Osas put the plate down on the bench. He stood up. He unzipped the green jacket, took it off, folded it once, and laid it on the bench beside the cracked helmet. Underneath it he was wearing a shirt. Not a shirt like the shirt of a man who rides Okada. A white shirt, hand-stitched, with a collar that had never been folded wrong in its life, and on his left wrist that gold watch turning quietly by itself. The woman in the gold jele came forward with the flat box and opened it. Inside was the white Okada that had been hanging on a wardrobe door in the government reservation area the night before, and the coral beads, deep red, heavy, the coral of Benin. She held it out to him with both hands and knelt. "Sir," she said. And then the executives came through the gate in a line, and one after another they stopped in front of the man beside the bench and greeted him, and the compound heard it all. "Good afternoon, Chairman." "Chairman, sir." "Good afternoon, sir." The eldest of the 22 men in Okada walked slowly to the canopy, looked at the elders sitting there, and said, "We greet this house. We have come from Iyowa. We are the family of Igbe. We have come to knock on this door for our son, Osaru Yi." Uncle Osaro was standing with both hands on top of his head. "I said it," he was saying, "to nobody, to everybody." "I said it! Enterprise Delta, page 19! I said that was his face, and you people told me to sit down, and Madame Iyobosa was standing halfway between the parlor door and the canopy, one hand on the wall. She was not moving. She was looking at the man she had put in the sun. Osas did not shout. He never shouted, not once that whole day. He picked up the folded paper from the pocket of the green jacket, opened it, looked at it, and then walked to the middle of the compound where everybody could see him. "Papas," he said to the elders, "before my people finish coming in, let me say one thing, so that nobody in this compound goes home confused." The compound waited. "My name is Osaru Yi Aigbe," he said. "I did not lose any business. I have a company that services oil facilities, and another that builds estates, and about 600 people eat from them, and some of them are standing in this compound right now." He let that settle. "I came here today on an old motorcycle, and I lied about one thing only, which was my pocket. I did it because of my mother, who is dead, and who was once told to go and sit with the food servers when she came to ask for a wife for me, because her wrapper was old." Somebody at the back said, "I wanted to know who would love me when there was nothing to gain," Osas said. "That is all. A man with money never gets to know that, unless he takes it off for one day." He turned then, slowly, and he looked at the woman standing by the parlor wall. "Ma," he said, "you asked me how many years it would take me to pay this list." She did not answer. Her mouth moved, but nothing came from it. "I will tell you the truth," he said. "Every single thing on this paper I could have paid before you finished reading it. The gold, the lace, the 1,500,000 naira, the 2 million naira levy. All of it, and it would not have touched me." He folded the paper again. "But that is not the part that matters," he said. "The part that matters is that you did not know that, and so I saw you. And Ma, I want you to hear me clearly, because I am not going to say it twice, and I am not going to insult you in front of your friends. You did not do anything to me. I am a grown man. I sat in the sun for 1 hour and I am fine. What you did to your daughter. She stood in this compound today and defended a man she thought had nothing, and you told her never to come back." Madame Iyobosa's legs gave way, and she sat down on the step. Osa's turned to Pa Osage, and in front of 130 guests, 22 elders, 7 vehicles, and every executive of his company, the chairman went down on both knees on the bare ground. "Papa," he said, "you carried a plate of rice across your own compound for a man you believed had nothing. You did not know. That is the only reason it counts." "My son," Pa Osagie said, and his voice broke on the second word. "Get up from that ground." "One more thing, sir." Osas looked up. "You knew. Not everything. But you saw the watch." The old man wiped his eye with his thumb. "I saw it," he said, "when I brought you the plate. Why did you not say anything?" Pa Osagie shrugged one shoulder, an old man's shrug. "Because a man who is hiding something has a reason," he said, "and because it did not change what I was going to say. I had already decided about you before I saw any watch. If I had shouted, then my words would have been about gold. I wanted my words to be about you." Osas bowed his head. "That," he said, "is why I am marrying into this family." Ife was standing beside her father with both hands over her mouth and tears running down her neck and into her coral beads. And when Osas rose and turned to her, she hit him once on the chest, not hard, the way a woman hits a man she is going to spend her life with. "Okada," she said, "you made me cry in front of my whole street. I know. You let me sit in the sun with you. You sat in the sun with me," he said. "Nobody let you. You carried your own chair out of that canopy and came and put it down beside me. That is what I will be remembering when I am an old man. Feh." The rest of that afternoon, the introduction was done properly, because the elders insisted, and old men are not moved by drama. The kola nut was broken again. The Aijbe family knocked on the door in the proper way. The goats were tied under the mango tree. The yams were counted out in the compound, and there were 40, because Osas had told Monday to buy exactly what was on the paper. Everything on that list was brought and set down in the middle of the compound, in front of everybody. The gold, the lace, the stockfish, the palm wine. Then Osas took the 2 envelopes, the 1,500,000 and the 2 million, and he did not give them to Madame Iyobosa. He gave them to the elders. "Papas," he said, "the mother's appreciation is a real thing in our custom, and I am not the one to abuse custom, so I am paying it in full. But I am paying it into your hands, and I am asking you to hold it until the wedding, and to give it to her that day, in the church, in front of everybody, so that she can receive it as a mother, and not as a fee." The eldest struck his stick on the ground. "Correct," he said. "That is correct." Madame Iyobosa sat on that step for a long time and did not eat any of her own food. Nobody came to her. That was the thing that finished her. Not the money, not the shouting. The fact that the women in gold and wine lace, the association, the 2 neighbors she did not like but had invited so they would see, all of them moved to the other side of the compound to be near where the chairman was standing, and left her sitting alone in the middle of her own party. She saw it. She was not a foolish woman. She had spent her whole life reading which way a crowd moves, and now she watched it move away from her. Near 5 o'clock she got up and walked to where her daughter was standing. "Eh, Fe," she said. The compound went quiet again. "Ma," Madame Iyobosa's face was swollen from crying and her jele was crooked, and for the first time that day she looked like a woman of 56 and not like a queen. "I said you should not come back to this house," she said. "I want to remove those words." Fe did not answer immediately. "Mama," she said at last, "you cannot remove them. You said them in front of everybody and everybody heard. What you can do is start again, from today, and let me watch you." Her mother's mouth trembled. "That is fair," she said. "It is not punishment, Mama," Fe said, and she took her mother's hand and held it. "It is just that I know now that you can say that, so I will love you carefully." And Madame Iyobo-sa put her head on her daughter's shoulder in front of 130 people and wept. And nobody laughed, because by then there was nothing funny left in that compound. When the sun started going down, they walked out through the gate. Efe came first in her wrapper and her coral, holding her father's arm. Osas came behind them in the white agbada with the red beads on his neck and his wrists. And the street was full, packed from fence to fence, because Sakpon Ba Road had heard by then, and Sakpon Ba Road had come to look. The green jacket and the cracked helmet were still lying on the bench in the compound. He did not carry them. The old Okada was standing by the wall where he had parked it. He stopped beside it and put his hand on the seat for a second, the way you touch something that did you a favor. Then Monday opened the back door of the long black Mercedes. The crowd made a sound. You could hear it go down the whole street, one long sound. "Chairman," Monday said. "Sir." Osas did not get in. He turned to Pa Osagie, took the old man's walking stick out of his hand, gave it to Monday, and opened the front passenger door himself. "Papa," he said, "you will sit in front." "My son, no, that seat is for you." "Papa," Osas said, "there is one seat in this car that a man has to earn. You earned it this morning with a plate of rice." And P.A. Osagie, the shoe mender of Upper Sakpon Ba Road, 61 years old, who had walked that street since he was a boy, got into the front seat of a car worth more than every building on it, while the whole road watched and the women screamed and the drummers, who had been paid for the day and had nothing left to lose, started to play. Efe got in beside her husband-to-be. The door closed. The engines started, one after another, 7 of them. And the last thing anybody on that street saw was an old woman in a purple gele standing alone at her own gate, watching the convoy go, holding the empty kola nut plate in both hands. Dear friends, let us sit with this one for a moment. Osas did not test Fe. He never needed to. He tested that compound, and the compound answered him before it knew who he was. If he had ridden in that morning in the white Agbada with the 7 vehicles behind him, every single answer he got would have come out different. And this is what that morning showed. Anybody will love you when your hands are full. That kind of love is cheap to give, and it leaves the same week the money leaves. The people worth keeping are the ones who welcomed you when your jacket had a hole in the elbow sewn over with black thread, and the ones who carried a plate of rice across a whole compound while everybody else walked past you with a full tray. Those people are rare. Most of us can already name them without thinking hard. We just do not say thank you to them often enough. And notice this too. Pa Osagie saw that watch long before the convoy came, and he kept quiet. He could have jumped up, announced it to the whole compound, and made himself an important man for 5 minutes. He sat down instead. The plate of rice was already in Osas's hands by then, and he had carried it out there for somebody he believed could never pay him back for it. Now let me ask you the question that has been sitting at the back of my mind since I started telling you this. Should Osas still marry into a family whose mother only respected him after she saw the cars? Fe is a good woman and her father is a good man. But that mother will be in their lives forever, at every naming ceremony, at every Christmas. Some of you will say a man does not marry a mother, he marries a daughter. Others will say that a woman who could put her own child's husband in the sun for 1 hour will always find a new way. What do you truly think? Tell me in the comments, and please be honest, because somebody reading your comment tonight is standing in front of a gate just like that one and does not know what to do. If this story touched you, please do these small things for me. Drop your answer in the comments. Tap the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach somebody else who needs it. Subscribe if you have not, and turn on the notification bell so the next story finds you. And share this with one person who loved you when you had nothing, and tell them you still remember. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. It means more than you know. This story is a work of fiction, created purely for entertainment and moral reflection. All names, characters, places, and events are products of the imagination. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, or to actual events, is entirely coincidental. Until the next story, be well and be kind to the person everybody else is ignoring.